Museums are where we store history. Some are now in danger. Take the Flying Leatherneck Aviation Museum in San Diego. It's closed. The pandemic, the reason. Here this morning is Fred Bell, the executive director of our Palm Springs Air Museum, to talk about the fate of some of these places where we go to remember a different time. Welcome, Fred. It's good to see you.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm good. So, Fred, tell me why the Flying Leatherneck closed.
The pandemic originally shut them down, and then that is one of the legacy museums of the armed services. Back 30 or 40 years ago, a lot of these spaces had museums attached to them. And then about 15 or 20 years ago, the military started spinning them off. And that's one of the museums that got spun off, similar to March. Air Force Base has a museum that is a similar example of that. And in many ways, they have an unfunded mandate. They have a collection that they've built up over time, but they don't receive any government support. That has stopped.
Is it going to be more difficult for museums to stay open because they are, really relying on a donor base to open the doors for them?
We have seen some limited support from the federal government as far as stimulus, but most private museums don't get much governmental support, not like the national museums. And as we go into a full year of the pandemic, it is extremely difficult for some of these facilities to continue to operate. And so I think the number I saw the other day was that the closure rate on museums is going to be about 50%.
That's an awful lot. And what happens to all that history when a museum closes?
Well, it goes away. Sadly, every time we lose a museum like this, all of those oral histories, the artifacts, everything. In the case of these museums that have large artifacts, a lot of that stuff is actually scrapped. It's destroyed in place. I don't know what will happen to the smaller items in their collections. Many of it goes into private collector hands, and or, we try to help whenever we can to save something.
As time goes on, are you finding that because out of sight, out of mind, that people have not thought about museums as much as they did when they were able to go to one?
I think the biggest challenge is being proactive. You have to tell your donor base that you're still there and the people that would frequent the museum. And we were on an initiative before all this happened to go online. We've taken our online interactions from about 18,000 a month to over 200,000 a month. But a lot of folks weren't in that position or weren't set up to do that. And then when the closures happened, they had no resources to make any changes. So it's kind of a witch's brew right now for a lot of these folks, and it's not going to be, it's not going to get any easier out to the end of 2021.
So, Fred, I know that you are open, but, it's limited. The good thing is that you have outdoor displays, so you're able to attract an audience for that. But most museums don't have that.
We have 10 acres of exhibits, and we've been able to modify the facility to have it be more open air. But if you're in a four-wall brick and mortar environment, that's extremely very difficult to operate.
Do you have any guess as to when you might fully reopen and get back to business?
We are seeing people move around, and we do provide an outlet and an educational mission for kids, which we've been very focused because the schools have been shut down. But as far as return to any sort of normalcy, it's probably the fall of this year as we see vaccinations and everything, pick up and become more prevalent.
When you look at this valley, there are so many treasures, and of course the Palm Springs Air Museum is one of them. So we just wish you the best.
Thank you. And as I said, if you have an interest in something, find a museum that you're interested in. It doesn't have to be the Air Museum, and reach out to them and see how you can support them. And Joe, we always appreciate your support as well.
Well, it's our pleasure. You know, it's one of those things, you know, we'll be sorry if it's gone.
Absolutely. And let's make sure that doesn't happen.
Thank you so much. We appreciate it, Fred. And stay right there. We'll be right back.